Unit 4-4.4 Part 1. And we're going to look at tree diagrams. Tree diagrams really help a lot with determining probability. So I'm going to do it on the hand of an example. So let's assume I have, in a bag, I have 5 blue discs, 3 green discs, and 2 red discs. Right, so just before we start that, let's just quickly think. So what is the probability of getting a blue disc if I draw one disc? There are how many blue discs? 5 out of how many discs altogether? 10. So in general, if I would draw a disc out of this bag, half of the time I would get a blue one. Right, now in this specific example, we're going to choose 2 and I'm saying do not replace. So you've got to understand now, you're going to put your hand in, pull out a disc, record its color, and then you're not going to put that disc back in the bag. Then you're going to put your hand in and draw another disc and record its color. And we want to look at all possible outcomes. Now your tree works on the actions. So action 1 is draw the first disc. So we're going to start here and we're going to say action 1. What are the possibilities? I could get a blue or a green or a red. So that is one set of branches. What are the chances of getting a blue? We said 5 out of 10. Don't change it to a half. It actually works better if you keep it as 5 out of 10. What are the chances of getting a green? It would be 3 out of 10. What are the chances of getting a red? Would be 2 out of 10. So one set of branches must add to 1. If you add 5 over 10 plus 3 over 10 plus 2 over 10, that should add to 1. So that was my action 1. Action 2 is draw second disc. So now you have to go back and say, go back to action 1. 3 things could have happened. So start with the first situation. If in the first case I had drawn a blue, then in the second case, again, I could get blue, green, or red, right? So let's take that further. Remember now, I have taken out one of the discs. How many discs are left? Only 9. So all of these will be out of 9. How many blue discs left? Only 4, because I've taken one. But I haven't taken any green if we go along these branches. So there are still 3 green left. And I haven't taken any red. So there are still 2 red left. So can you see, if you go along the blue and then one of the next ones, it means I've taken one blue and now I can either get a blue or green or red. Now you go back. So every time we start at this point again, we say or. Or maybe the first time I drew a green. Chances again are you can get blue or green or red. Again, there's only 9 left. So what I write here are the probabilities. But if the first time I drew a green, then there are still 5 blue left. But there will only be 2 green and there's still 2 red. Right, so again, if you take each of the separate ones, you're going to say an or. My last thing is maybe the first time I got a red. If I draw the second time, again I can get blue or green or red. So remember, the first chance is blue or green or red. It was only one of those things that happened, but we're thinking of all possibilities. So again, in my second time, there will only be 9 discs left in the bag. If I first drew a red, it means there are still 5 blue left. It also means there are still 3 green left, but now there's only 1 red left. So now I've got all the possible outcomes. I could have gone blue and blue, or I could have gone green and red, etc., etc. So let's see some questions we could ask. What is the probability of getting 2 blue? That we see it's the probability of drawing blue and blue. There's only one way we could have done that, is if we went along this branch and then along that branch. And because I say and, I take that probability and I multiply it by that one. You can multiply and simplify. You can leave it in fraction form or write it as a decimal. Here's another one though. Now we must be careful. What is the probability of 1 green and 1 red? The thing we must think about here is, if the question is asked like that, it doesn't say which one happens first. So there's actually 2 things that could have happened, one of 2 things. I could have had first green and then red, or, and if I say or, then I put a plus, I could have had first red and then green. So the first one, first green and then red, you go along the green and then the red. 3/10 times 2/9 plus, and remember your bed mass, the times will go first. If I did first red and then green, I go along the red branch and then the green branch, which is 2/10 times 3/9. And you can work that out, 2/15, or you can write it as a decimal. And remember, you could even write it as a percentage. So there is a 13% chance of getting a green and a red if we don't specify which one happens first. Just another thing, we said the branches add to 1. In the second case, those branches must add to 1. And these branches must add to 1, and these, the probabilities, of course.